I will call this meeting to order at 6:33 PM. Can I get a roll call, please?
Sure, Maxanne Dobson,
Here.
Sam Cafiso,
Here.
Laura Millette is
She's absent today.
Dennis Heffernan,
Remotely?
right? Robert Zukas,
Yes.
Darrell Britton,
Here.
Peter Bracci. Here. Bob Hamilton.
Here.
Julian Kiska.
Here.
I see Greg Colby remotely.
Yep. Is anybody else?
On.
Is the town manager here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
And me, that's it.
All right, I'll read the following statement. The Plaistow Budget Committee. No, I'm just reading a statement.
Okay,
so you
good,
can-
sorry.
My glasses keep falling. Plaistow Budget Committee, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, is authorized to meet electronically, and these reasons shall be reflected in the minutes. And all votes will be via roll call. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have December 8th minutes to review.
Make a motion, we accept the December 8th minutes.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
I got a couple questions.
Yep.
Given our discussion last week around, and what you just stated, the way the vote should be. My question is, we're taking these budgets under consideration. So are we making a motion that we need to vote on, or should it be defined different?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if, Julian, do you know any more about
I'm not
the?
sure what his question was. Is he wondering whether we should vote on it or whether it should just be under consideration? Under consideration really doesn't mean anything because you have to vote on it for it to be official.
But is the
So
motion,
what I'm saying, Julian, if it's under consideration, is that considered a vote, like you said?
Well, it has in the past. I've never been a proponent of the consideration process, but it is a vote. You handle it like a vote.
The way I understood it was any vote, regardless of what its meaning,
If it's a vote,
had to be a roll call.
it has to be roll call.
Regardless
That's the
of-
question.
Yeah, the content.
Okay. The only other thing I had was on page. It's on page number 6, under the building inspector budget. Second to last line, it says, Dennis Heffernan suggested the budget is too high at 105,000. Then it talks about how the town manager explained that. Afterwards, after the explanation, I had stated something along the line, thanks for clarifying or whatever. So at that point, I just kind of wanted to make it look like once the explanation was there, my statement above was not suggesting that the budget was too high. Does that make sense?
do you want to make an amendment to it?
The amendment would be, once the town manager made his discussion, D. Heffernan understood where that line was coming from.
Did you get all of that?
I think I do, but what I didn't, I will catch on the video when
Okay.
it comes back.
Just
Julian?
make me look good, that's all.
And for the explanation.
Yeah, page 3 under point of order. It just says that there were assertions that the rule has been around for a while. I said it has not, it has been around for a while. It's not an assertion. And the selectmen did not just incorporate it the week before. It's been done since this whole COVID thing started. If a person was remote and it's been done more than once, it has always been a roll call. So that is a false statement that says the board, selectmen did not enact until previous week. That is totally not a fact.
It's not incorrect that that was said at the meeting, though. We're not correcting.
Well, I did say it was the law, and it doesn't say that. I said it was not. It was always, that law has always been there. The vote, roll call vote, anybody remote, whether it's COVID or prior to, because remote meetings have always been allowed, it's always been a roll call vote.
Right, I'm just saying that the minutes reflect that there was a discussion, so we don't want to amend that. That discussion is reflected in the minutes.
Yeah, I think myself and Maxine were questioning whether or not that had been done on the Board of Selectmen, but like you said, you guys had been doing it all along.
Yeah, but I did make the statement that we have been doing it all along, and that's not what it says. But I'm going to leave it at that. I requested for it to be changed.
Okay.
So what do you
And
want
what are
it-
you saying is assertions?
What,
It says
yeah,
there
you
were,
could put assertion by other members?
That's-
By budget committee members?
That's true.
That's what I'm just saying. It was
But
discussed.
but I also says, I stated for fact that it has always been a rule.
So maybe
So they're
just
both
add,
true.
Charlene, maybe just add that Jay Kiska. Okay,
You can do that.
thank you.
Because I read the law right from my phone. I looked it up, and I read it verbatim. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and then are you gonna put in there were asserts from other budget committee members? I think that would actually reflect it.
Charlene, can we make that amendment also?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or discussions?
Do we have to approve as amended?
Yeah, so the motion, do you want to make the
yes.
motion? Yeah.
yep, I make a motion, we accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, roll call.
You came prepared for this. Okay. Maxine Dobson,
Aye.
Sam Confuso,
Aye.
Dennis Heffernan,
Aye.
Robert Zukas,
Aye.
Carol Burton,
Aye.
Peter Bracci,
Aye.
Bob Hamilton.
Aye. Aye, excuse me.
Yes.
That was everybody.
All right, motion carries 900. Are you here for a budget-related comment? No. Okay. Yes.
Chair. My name is Francine Hart at 298 Main Street. And I'm here to address this committee as the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. On October 27th, our select board handed this committee our operating budget to you.
Excuse me,
Can you
I'm
hear?
sorry. The noise of the machine, my hard hearing,
Okay?
I can't hear you either,
I can't hear
Francine.
you.
All right, I'll yell.
That's better.
Okay. On October 27th, our select board handed this committee our operating budget. It is now December 15th, and not one department budget has been approved. Last week, our representative of the select board indicated to this committee that you are not having a lawful meeting unless you are holding your meeting by roll call vote. And I believe he pointed that statute out to him, and you ignored him. Now, I'm very gratified to know that tonight that's been changed. But the thing that really disappoints me tonight, or last week, was the fact that there are two former selectmen sitting on this committee, and neither one of you gentlemen opened up your mouth to correct that. And I say shame on the both of you. And if you didn't know the law, then you should have, because you were former selectmen.
Well, I'd like to address that.
I'm not here to
Okay.
debate you, sir. I'm here to make a statement.
Okay, and I'll address the statement.
The crowning glory of this whole debacle, in my opinion, was that I sat and watched TV, and I watched the vice chair on television swilling beer during your meeting. Wow, how professional was that? I really think that this board needs to be aware of how you are perceived by the people who elected you. And there's a bunch of people on this committee that are really trying very, very hard to do a really good job. And, you know, I suggest that the rest of you get on board and do the same thing. And I'm not here to debate. I'm just here to make a statement, and I thank you for letting me make that statement. Good night.
I'll let you speak, Darrell.
Yeah, and I'll address that. In over 35 years of being on the town boards, Julian, you found something that says that that was supposed to be done. I can never remember in all the years I was on, especially the Budget Committee, that we ever did a roll call. Now, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean it was right. But we never, ever took a roll call. We would take and approve the budget. Somebody wasn't there, you know, they weren't there. But we, in fairness, we didn't have technology either.
Yeah, but
You know, they just were absent. So, yes, shame on us for not probably knowing, but that's where the body is stronger than just the individual. You brought something up, we corrected it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just make a point. We didn't have, nobody was voting remotely, so that wouldn't have applied anyway. I think since the second year that I've been a selectman, I was pushing for remotes because I never thought it was right if someone went on vacation that they couldn't take part in a meeting, which they may have been a very important vote, by the way. And I've seen votes get turned and come up during Board of Selectmen meetings because they knew the person who opposed it wasn't going to be there. So I've always, it does, all it takes is a phone call or whatever, and you could be remote and you could be present for an important vote. And if you want to get out of the meeting, you don't have to stay for the whole 2.5-hour meeting. You can then, you know, be in the minutes that you have left the meeting. So this law has always been there. And the reason I know is because I read this years ago, because I was pushing for it a long time ago. Because we know that in people's real lives, because we're not permanent employees, you have to be able to take your vacations or your family matters or things like that. And I've always pushed for it, so I know that law was always there. When I started out my first couple of years as selectman, I went to every single NHMA class I could possibly go to on whether it's salt going down or rules. And some of them have changed. Every year there's little modifications. And that's all I got to say, that we have never had to do that rule because we've never actually held, not that I know of, actually held a remote meeting.
Well, I'll just add, it would have been helpful if that memorandum was distributed to all of the committee chairs so we knew ahead of time. I just couldn't like see your phone and know what that meant. So I rectified it for this meeting, and I appreciate you bringing it up, but there was confusion, not just on my part, other committee members also had confusion, so we handled that.
I appreciate that. I'm not a vindictive person. Everybody knows that. I'm a little more laid back, but I wouldn't have spoke up unless I knew what I was saying.
Sam, did you? Well, Pete.
I would say that, to agree with Max, that if the governing body of this town wants to govern this town, they should pass out the way that committees are going to vote. None of us, myself included, had ever been in a remote meeting. I didn't know the rules. So if the governing body wants to govern this town, they should tell each of the committee chairmen how they want it to be run.
Did you want to say something? Or?
Yeah, I would just want to address the comment made to me about drinking beer during the remote meeting. It took a lot for me not to come to the meeting. I really wanted to show up in person. At a previous selectmen's meeting, one of the selectmen, I'm not going to point fingers and it's nobody's fault, they encouraged as many people as possible to attend remotely. And I believe the quote was, stay home, have a beer, and enjoy the meeting, and enjoy it from your own home, and don't put anyone else at risk. And that's exactly what I did. I wasn't sitting there swilling, quote-unquote, beer. I had a beer during the 3-hour meeting, and I don't think it affected my judgment whatsoever.
As most of you know, I've said it time and time again, I watch Board of Selectmen meetings. The meeting before our last meeting, the Board of Selectmen meeting 2 meetings ago, was the first time I heard them do the roll call vote. Prior to that, there were many meetings in which John Glenn was remotely, attending remotely.
Bob, I will just interrupt and say I found the minutes and they were roll call votes, so I
Even
misspoke when I
back
said
when
that.
John
Yes.
Glenn was,
Yes, I misspoke when I
Okay.
said that.
okay,
I know there were
I-
a few times that we, because of habit, says, we went, I want to vote, we'd all said aye, and then we corrected
Yeah.
ourselves and then did the roll call vote. There were a couple of times that happened, and that's because of habit.
okay.
But, yeah.
I just take offense to us being scolded for not being professional and acting the way that we're supposed to be acting. I'm offended by what Francine just said about our committee.
And I will just set
I
for
mean,
the-
we're here all the time, we attend, we always have 100% attendance. What does she expect? Sorry,
I'll just add, we did
Can I jump in?
yes.
yep.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, I agree, Bob. I think to be scolded like that is very unprofessional and not fair. I've been on this committee for 7 years, and the work that everyone puts into this, reviewing the budget, and it's all volunteer time. We had a 3-hour meeting last week, the prep time. I think we should be commended for all the work we put together for the town. So to have that come out across that way from the chairman of the Board of Selectmen is very disheartening. I had stated in one of our first meetings that I hope we could work together as both boards. Clearly, that is not going to happen. So to make a comment that we have not approved a budget yet, I've been on this committee, as I said, for many years, and there's many years when we haven't approved a budget. To make that look like we're not doing our job is very disrespectful. Thank you.
I agree.
I was just going to add, too, we received the budget on October 27th. The next following meeting was Election Day. There was no way we could hold a meeting on Election Day. And the other 2 meetings, I'm sorry, COVID happened. This is an unprecedented year. And Sam and I were both exposed to COVID, and I wasn't comfortable conducting the meeting as a chair virtually when I haven't been trained. I don't have the necessary technology, so I made the call. That's the chair's prerogative. I think we've made great progress, and last year, we didn't take the budgets under consideration, and a lot of numbers changed. And I feel like after seeking guidance from previous budget committee members, what they did was take things under consideration. That was the process that has been followed before I was on the committee. So that's what I established this year. And it is disrespectful. And I'm sorry, as the chair, I should have done a better job making us, I don't even know. I don't know what to say to that. I apologize if I have failed as a chair.
No,
You have not.
Hold on, we got a lot of work to do, so let's just move
Yeah.
on to what our
Yep.
work is.
Yeah, to be chastised like that in these times of uncharted territory is not correct, in my view. We're doing the best we can without any help from Town Hall.
Did everybody receive the library budget via email? Do you have it? I know it was in the folder.
Yep.
Yes.
I got it, I picked it
Okay.
up.
Julian, did you have
Well,
something?
according to the last, I just want to make one comment. I'm going to say none of us have been trained. When the governor sent the order out, we read it. When the Attorney General sent out the memo, we read it. And it wasn't that difficult. It was quite easy. The only thing that had to be set up really was the technology, which was all done by our cable people and our IT. We didn't have to do that. All we had to do was take part. So I'll just say, none of us have actually been trained. And if anyone's used the software online, there is really nothing to be trained about. It's so
Okay, we're gonna.
so easy to use.
We're
It's-
moving
yeah.
on to the
I'm just
library
making a
budget.
statement. It's not about training.
That's your perception, Julian. Some people can't navigate technology like that. So Did everybody have a chance to look at the library budget? I know it's level funded. Did anybody have any questions?
No.
Is there a motion to take the library budget under consideration?
I'll make
I'll
that
make that
motion.
motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Dennis made the motion, Daryl seconded it. Discussion. I will add that Cab, the director of the library, had stated even if insurances did go up for whatever reason this year, they would honor a level funded budget. They would make it work. Bob?
I'd like to also make a comment that this is the second year in a row the library has not asked for money for their fund as a warrant article,
Oh, a
Capital
capital
reserve?
reserve fund?
and I think that's commendable also.
Absolutely.
Should be made public.
So shut.
Any other discussion on the library budget?
Nope.
Okay, roll call. All those in favor?
Maxine Dobson,
Aye.
Sam Kafiso,
Aye?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yes.
Robert Zokas,
Aye.
Darrell Britton,
Aye.
Peter Bracci,
Aye.
Bob Hamilton,
Aye.
Julian Kiska.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 800.
Yep.
Okay, the next one is street lighting. Is there a motion on the floor to approve street lighting for 117.5?
I'll make a motion, we accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Go ahead. Daryl?
Darrell seconded. There was a question that was submitted regarding that, and I believe that's in our packet. The question was, what is the projected time period for paying off our investment in LED streetlights based on savings in 2020 electric bills? The anticipated payback for the project investment is 5 to 7 years. Did that answer your question?
I think I asked the question wrong. I think what I was really after was how the street light bills have been coming in. Are they as low as anticipated? And has that affected the length of time that this payoff is going to be? I know it's between 5 and 7 years. I was just hoping that we could narrow it down a little bit closer to 5 or closer to 7.
Would you have that information, Greg?
Actually, the bills right now are higher than they were a year ago when we're working with Unitil to figure out why that is the case. We have been back and forth with them over the last 3 or 4 months, and we're trying to get a resolution. There may have been a miscommunication on their end with the install, and so we're looking at possibility of rebates that are due to the town. So I can't tell you, Bob, except that we're still trying to work through it with Unitil. It hasn't been an easy process from their end, for us to work with them. So it's been dragging out a lot longer than any of us had wanted to.
Julian, can you speak towards the energy side of it? Like, how it's supposed to work?
Right. The way it's supposed to work is we were basically given an interest-free loan, so we didn't have to put up the upfront money to buy the equipment from Affinity Lighting, which is who was the manufacturer and installer, which are based out of Dover. But it doesn't mean the bills are going to go down. Basically, what's supposed to happen is the difference between the savings and what the normal bill would continue, and the difference of the savings would go off toward paying off the equipment cost of the installation. And when that is paid off, then it goes down to the actual power usage. Now, one thing I want to make sure is there's no meters on these lights. It's basically it's based upon the wattage of the fixture and the hours of non-daylight time. Whether it's a bright day or a cloudy day, it doesn't really matter. It's number of daylight hours based upon the calendar and the physics of the way the earth and the sun work. So there's no actual metering involved. So if you turned off a couple of lights right now, you'd still get the same bill. It doesn't matter if it's working or it's not. It's a matter of hours and wattages the fixture's installed.
So the idea is
Yeah.
the wattage should be decreasing.
The wattage is
versus
less,
what-
so it's calculated based, how many watt hours you use is based upon the wattage of the fixture and how many hours it would technically be night.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
I have a question for Greg Colby, please.
Dennis,
On our budget sheet, it shows actual year-to-date as of October as having paid $192,100, $100,000 plus. Is that actually what we paid Unitil so far this year, as of October?
Without running a detail, that, to the best of my knowledge, yes, that's what we paid Unitil.
Right. So how are we paying this other company for installing the lights? I mean, how are they getting their money?
Their money has been paid to them up front, and as Mr. Kishka said, the Unitil is basically financing through their payment a level rate, if you will. So that the difference in the usage versus what we pay, last year to this year is made up with the equipment costs.
you get that, Bob? You
Yeah.
follow? No?
No.
Basically, what it is Unitil paid for the hardware.
Okay,
So
okay.
in theory,
That's what I didn't get.
okay, our electric bill should drop,
Once the hardware's
but
paid
the
for.
bill is going to stay the same,
Got it.
which we will keep paying, and they will pay off the hardware.
Got it.
Darrell, did
Thank
you
you.
have a question too?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah, I think originally we would have had to put up the upfront capital. And then I think the federal government, which also subsidizes these conversion programs, was saying, how come Unitil in your area, nobody's converting? And I think things happened, and what happened is they incentivized us to be able to move forward without having to put out a warrant article for the amount of money for the initial capital. Then we would have had to get, in a sense, a bond or something. So what happens is they gave us basically, all right, we'll upfront the money. I'm pretty sure they got some federal help with that too. And we'll just pay that amount off when the difference in the electric versus actual versus the old fixture wattages, the difference is the difference there. So if it was a 100-watt bulb and now it's only 25, you're saving the power you would have saved by that 75 watts on every bill
But we have
until
to
it's
pay
paid
the
off.
equipment off before we see that
Yeah, and that can also be based if the rates change,
Right.
because it's still based on the electric rate, the power rate. So that's why it can still fluctuate, and it may not be always the same amount every time.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the number was 350,000, somewhere in there, for the cost of the hardware? Does that sound about right?
I can't even recall, I
On
don't
the
think
committee,
it was
and
that high.
I thought it was, no?
No,
No, not even close to that. It was more like 150.
Okay,
I was gonna
sorry.
say
But we got a really good deal from
Okay.
Infinity Lighting,
Yeah.
so.
okay. Shall we move to a vote? Is everybody satisfied?
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
Maxine Dobson,
Aye.
Sam Kafiso,
Aye?
Dennis Heffernan,
Aye.
Robert Zukas,
Aye.
Darrell Britton,
Aye?
Peter Bracci.
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Aye.
Julian Kiska.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make a note, when this is paid off, that's when you'll see this budget drop. So we won't see that budget actually drop until it's paid off.
So is that what the 5 to 7 years is, once it's paid off?
Once it's paid off, the bill will go down to the actual usage.
Well,
And there is also a fee in there to use their poles. It's not strictly just the wattage, it's also the fee
Right.
for pole
Yeah.
use.
I understand the bill would be paid off. Is it the intention to keep going with them, though? Keep adding them? So is it a perpetual bill, essentially?
We have no intention of adding any large amount of streetlights if you're talking about that. Only way that would go back up is if you added more equipment.
Right.
That's not going to happen. There might be a few lights here and there with new developments that get added, which will be really a small scale, not significant. We will at some point, because I think there's 5-year warranty on every light. So if anything goes wrong with them right now, they're just going to get replaced. However, at some point, we'll be looking at a maintenance contract in the future, which is something we did discuss briefly at the Board of Selectmen meeting, but we don't have to figure that out for a number
So
of years.
there's no intention of adding similar lights in the future?
Whatever the new technology is. Right now, we're going to keep the lights we have. If something gets replaced, it might get replaced with something newer. if we add a street light on a new street that's developed in the future, which I don't see that, too much of that happening in Plaistow, considering we don't have that much developable land in the future. But yeah, there could be some expansion, a couple lights could be added here and there, but it wouldn't be significant at all. But I think right now they're only 25-watt bulbs.
Yeah, once, the theory right now is, once the hardware is paid off.
Yep.
We will just be paying the electric usage for the lights we have.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Are you ready?
And there will be some maintenance contract we'll have to
Yeah.
figure out in the future, because Unitel doesn't fix them now because we own them. But
Bob?
that's far off in the future.
The Board of Selectmen have decided to have a advisory committee looking for another company or another provider of electricity. Will that affect this at all? I mean, it sounds like Unitil, who's providing the electricity, is locked in for 5 years or 7 years or however long it takes.
Well, we didn't lock in a rate. It depends on whatever the current rate is. That's why I said earlier, the bill could fluctuate up or down. If the electric rates go up, the bill goes up a little bit.
Right.
And of course, also the savings. But then, on the other hand, it could go down. But when we're talking about the energy aggregation warrant article, where you negotiate a lower rate because you have bargaining power on a large scale, which we're planning not just one town, but multiple towns bargaining with a power provider, then that power usage would also probably apply also to the streetlights. Because it's a power usage. But it wouldn't affect things like delivery charge, because it is their power lines, and it would not affect the fact that there is a fee for the use of each pole.
My
That
question
is in
is,
the
it will not
figures.
affect this deal that we have with our power company, that we've come in an agreement with, that,
If we get a better rate, we'll get more savings here, too.
but it won't affect this.
It should, in a
It
good
shouldn't
way.
affect this. If it does, it'll be less.
Okay,
If we end up getting power for less, then
Okay.
it'll pay off faster, that's all.
okay.
Onto the solid waste collection, I had asked for the original RFP that came in from Casella to be put in our folders. I don't know if everybody had a chance to review that. I noticed that you extended the most recent RFP that was due on December 18th. It's now December 21st.
Yep.
What's different about this new RFP?
It was more specific,
Do you know what?
trying to get more than what we wanted.
Okay.
Well, until I see what the proposals are, I really can't tell you more.
Um,
But we decided we didn't see what we wanted, so he says, let's see if we can get something better. We didn't like what we saw, so what we did is we decided as a board that let's put it out again and see if something better comes in, something more practical, more specific. After a lot of discussions, we now know more about what we're looking for. And we were hoping, well, we'll see what happens when we get the bids in.
Will you
And we also put a
consider
second bid out
recycling?
for recycling.
With
You will
recycling?
consider, recycling will be considered with that new,
The RFP was also put out to get a recycling company for people who want to recycle. So basically, if you get a group rate, I know those people who really are serious about recycling, and they'd probably take the savings in their taxes and then just put that into the, being one of the people on the pickup for the recycle.
So this original RFP from Casella, on page 14 in the packet, it's the automated collection. Casella provides carts.
Right.
And it includes the every other week recycling option. So it was $294 for the first year, $152 for recycling, $84 per ton. And I saw some of the references. I know they handle Atkinson, and I did look up Atkinson's budget for last year. And they have 7,000 residents according to this, and their budget was a little over 580,000. Plus, they had recycling dumpsters at Woodland Park in Atkinson. So I think it ended up being 600 and change, the final trash line item in Atkinson's budget. So if we're less at like 5,800, I think this was quoted, I just don't understand why it's so much more money.
Well, I can't give you the exact answer, except that they had a contract previously. So I don't know if maybe because right now the price has gone up, than when they had their locked-in contract, which is good, good for them.
Yep.
And also, we are looking into drop-off or recycle. We're looking at any options we can have. We'll be talking about it. We're looking for someone, people just want it picked up, or can we get some locations where people can drop off recycling if they wish to do that? Those things are all on the table. Our current contract will not run out till summer, so nothing is going to change till summer, so we don't have to sign a contract till then, but we still have to budget something.
So did you add money to the budget last night?
We added for the purchase of the carts themselves.
Okay, so what's the new number?
And they're the larger, the adjustment was the 18,437, I believe. The cart, it's also option, the cost, and in 5 years, we can purchase them outright for $1.
So
We
did
actually own them after 5
you
years.
have a new total for what that line item is?
It is 18,437.
No, I mean
sheet
the
that you
total
got.
solid waste. I don't think I have the new trash one in the budget. Oh, okay, here.
There
We
is,
just got it.
Yep, I just,
in your folder, there is a new solid waste
Yep.
collection with the action that was taken last night.
okay, I just found it, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other further
12.15
numbers I
today on
defer?
the bottom.
Okay, so that new number is 789,437. Did you have a question?
I did. How many respondents were there to the RFP?
Well, since we're still accepting them,
How many-
original?
How many did it go out to?
we sent it out, we sent that out on the, well, I'd have to ask the finance director how they sent it out. They sent it out to everybody.
Well, what's everybody? If I send a bid out, I can send it out to 2 people, I can send it out to
Yeah.
500.
I didn't physically do it. I'll defer that to the finance director or town manager.
I am not aware. I know it was handled by the executive assistant to the board, so I am unaware of who it went to.
So how many did we get back? Do you know that?
I haven't seen them yet because we haven't opened them.
No, the original batch?
I don't.
The original batch, I believe there were 4.
Right.
And you narrowed it down to Casella and someone else, I believe?
Waste management.
I haven't seen them.
You don't remember the first batch when you opened the, because I know you took 2 out of the running right
They
off
were
the bat.
the current users, was it JRM
JRM, yeah,
and Casella, and I can't recall the other ones 'cause I didn't bring that stuff with me.
okay.
I have a question.
Yeah,
I have a question for Julie, and I was watching the part of the meeting last night, in between swilling beer, where where you guys were talking about the carts. Now, apparently, I was under the impression you had to buy a cart from the company that was going to provide the service, but that doesn't seem like the case.
No, it's not.
You got any, you can buy the barrels, and any company will use them? They don't have to have their own barrels?
Yes, they're all a common standard.
Okay.
They're standard, that way it works with all the equipment that the same companies also buy. It'd be like any kind of a excavator. If you had a new excavator and it
Yeah.
didn't fit on yours, it wouldn't work, right?
I always saw I thought I always saw the name of the company on the side of the barrel, and this must be something new that
Yeah,
they
the only
use
thing
as
is
a
the
standardized-
labeling on the barrel will be customized.
Okay,
And we can choose the color, and you can choose
Yeah.
the color of the covers, because like Lacketson, they have one color for their recycle bins and a different color for their regular trash. The lid will change.
I'm sure you've done your homework. You wouldn't buy carts that somebody else wouldn't.
And these carts also have
I was
an
surprised to hear
RFID
that.
chip in them, so they can identify whether they're really a Plaistow barrel or not.
Thank you.
Maxine?
Yes,
Just a couple of questions that came up. There were 4 proposals in the original, and I believe it was Republic, JRM, Caseload Waste Management, and Casella. I believe those were the 4.
Right?
did you have a question, or you just,
I just wanted, that information was out there, and I
okay.
got the answer, so I wanted to.
So is this new RFP open to anyone, or is it just for a specific company?
I believe it was put out, anybody wants to bid on it, they can bid on it.
The second round of RFP?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my impression. Then again, I can't answer it any more than the finance director is, because I didn't actually physically do it.
Yeah, Dennis.
When are the bids due?
The 21st, I believe they just extended the date.
Yeah, originally, I
went
thought
out-
we were going to do it yesterday, but
Yeah.
it got extended, probably because they were waiting for more to come in.
Okay.
Greg?
They were due Friday at 2 o'clock, but with the town hall closing at 11, it was extended out to Monday at 3 o'clock, because of that, so that we didn't have an employee here, 3 hours past close. That's the only reason why it was extended.
I mean, we can take it under consideration, but go ahead, Bob.
I have a question. I'm noticing also on their collection that right now, we're allowed 2 trash barrels. It looks like if you want to continue to have 2 trash barrels, it will now cost you an additional $125 for a barrel. So we're going from 2 down to 1 now.
But you're going to a 96-gallon barrel.
So it's like the size of 2
It's
standard.
double the size barrel of what most people already have.
Yeah, we went with the 95 or whatever instead of the 65.
Okay?
Because you're right, it would have been too small.
Okay, thank you.
And just to correct, I did find some paperwork here. Casella, JRM, Republic Services, and Waste Management were the 4 original respondents.
Okay. So do we want to take this under consideration, even though it might change again? Or we can put
Yeah,
it
we
off
should.
to the next meeting? What is,
Well, if we take it under consideration,
Yeah.
we still have that option to
Right.
review it again.
okay. Is there a motion on the floor to take the solid waste collection under consideration for, the new amount is $789,437.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Darrell, is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
I got one quick
Yep.
question. Are we confident we're gonna have a number come January when we vote on the budgets, or whenever we vote on these budgets?
I'm hopeful that we will be. So once we open up the bids, we'll see what the numbers actually are, and then a decision can be made.
Is there a deadline with the BOS for when they have to choose? Do you have,
Well, we'd want to do it before the budgets are final, because it wouldn't
Right,
make
I
any
would-
sense not to. You have to have a number.
right,
I mean, this is kind of put you in a hard place. The contract's not until the future. However, we have to budget it.
Right.
In my theory is, even if we didn't have it, we'd have to budget on the high side to make sure the money is there, at least within reason. But, and hopefully it'd be less. But it doesn't look that way, because the trash pickup and the recycling has just gone downhill. And I know what's happening now too, more people working from home, whatever. I see more trash happening. So I don't know.
Well, you're going to have your bids in time for the budget, so shouldn't be a concern.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay.
I can't make a promise, because you don't never know what happens, but my hope is that it will be done.
Okay.
It's our intention.
Roll call vote, please. All those in favor of taking the solid waste budget under consideration for $789,437?
Roxanne Dobson,
Yes.
Pam Capuso,
Aye?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yeah.
Robert Zukas,
Yes.
Gerald Britton,
Yes?
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Julian Kiska,
Yes.
800.
Thank you. The next one is solid waste disposal. Is there a motion on the floor for taking the solid waste disposal budget under consideration for $46,500?
Make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Oh, Sam got it first, Dennis.
Yeah, that's fine.
Discussion? No discussion on that budget? I just want to confirm, is that the hazardous waste? What is the solid waste disposal budget? Does that include the hazardous waste?
Isn't that your hazardous waste day?
That's what I was saying,
Yeah.
it
No,
includes,
it's,
it includes a couple of,
it's also the leaf and stick pile, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the landfill.
did, we still have the hazardous waste one this year? Or was it canceled because of COVID? One?
I thought we still had it this year.
We had one.
Spring was canceled, it was held this fall, I believe in Atkinson or Hampstead, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was Atkinson.
So do we typically schedule 2 a year?
Yes.
Yeah,
So does-
one's always here and the other one is in another town.
Okay.
Yeah, solid waste disposal landfill. Hold on.
So my understanding is that when you host it, you pay the lion's share, and that's how it goes around?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If you host the hazardous waste collection in your town, you pay the lion's share?
I think you get reimbursed.
Yeah, there's a percentage. We pay a percentage and the participating towns pay a percentage.
Well, because the only reason I'm saying this is because we participated with Atkinson, and our expenditure was $254.95. If we held the second one, are we saying it would have cost us $20,000?
Yes, Greg?
We have not been billed for the fall one yet.
Okay.
That's why.
But no, in answer to your question, they take surveys and they divvy up the total cost by town. So even though we host one every year, we're not paying more than our fair share to host.
And 21,000 is about what we think it's going to cost us, our share, for two?
For two, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Any other discussions? No? Okay, roll call vote, please.
We ready for that?
Yep.
Maxine Dobson,
Yes.
Sam Capiso,
Yeah?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yes.
Robert Zukas.
Yes.
Gerald Britton,
Yes?
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Julian Kiska.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 800. The next one is the welfare budget, and I would just like to state for the record, I did not receive, I know this falls under the welfare budget, I did not receive an email from SOROC that was said at the Board of Selectmen meeting last night. I did not receive it, so.
Actually, the last email didn't get sent, but to one selectman, who then forwarded it to the rest of the selectmen. Basically, our discussion came down to, we still didn't receive financials of this organization. So,
I just wanted, it was stated last night that it was sent to me, and it was not, so.
oh, I didn't know, I don't recall that it was sent to you, but
I know it wasn't,
it would be a warrant article. It's not a budget item, it's a warrant article item.
I know, it falls under the welfare, and Jay DeRoche said that I was on the email, it got sent to me and the Human Resources Director, and I am here to tell everybody at TV Land that I did not receive it.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's not on the welfare budget, so that's
Okay.
why. It's not approved by the voters. Yet, if it is.
Okay, the welfare budget is for $32,350. Is there a motion to take that under consideration?
Make that motion.
Bob Hamilton made that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Robert Zukas seconded. Is there a discussion?
I just comment, I was pleasantly surprised to see this, that it actually, if I'm looking at it correctly, less than last year. I figured with everything going on and all the tough times with this budget, we may see an increase in, so.
I think that we have 2 more months, though, to show up on this, don't we, Craig?
Yes, but, I mean, we're still gonna be within budget, between now and the end of the year, unless something catastrophic happens in the next 2 weeks, but we don't anticipate that.
Do we think Greg, do you think we'll be around that number, that $32,000, though? Rough estimate? Or less?
Yes, that, I don't think, we won't be over it. We'll be at it or less than that.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready to vote on it? Are there any other questions or discussion?
I
Yeah.
also see that the director's salary went up 3,000. Is that cost of living? Or what is the? They budgeted 14 this year. For 2021, we're asking for an additional 3,400, 3,300, $3,300. Is that cost of living, or is that an additional person that we're bringing in?
I'm gonna say that it was a mistake in the amount for the 2020 budget, because through October, we are already over what we had budgeted. So I think it was just, when we split out that one person's salary to the 4 or 5 different line items, I just think there was an allocation error in that. That's all. That's not a cost of living, not any additional people.
Okay, thank you.
If you look at 2018 on that, it was over 17,000, so.
Oh, I do. I was just trying to figure out, because it was over 17 in 2018, but then we're talking down to 11 in,
True, yeah.
the next year. So we're $8,000 less the next year. That's why I'm just trying to figure out if something changed that we're up to 17, 5, that's all. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, can I make a comment on that?
Yes, please.
So the person doing the human services, you're on a human service line, not the welfare, correct?
No.
Oh, no, we're on
on
welfare
welfare.
administration.
Okay. So the person that oversees that is Laurie. Laurie used to do welfare, assessing, and human resources. Since that time, approximately 2018, we reduced down Laurie from the amount of time from assessing. She maintained the same schedule depending on the demand for welfare, and she maintained the same position of human resources. And then, as a consequence of eliminating a full-time position, she took on payroll and accounts payable in the finance department. So she's increased from 3 jobs to 5 jobs. So what Greg and I are trying to do, and it's a tough process because we're trying to allocate based on the amount of hours that she spends doing each job so that we have an accurate representation of what it costs for each department. So a lot of this is still Greg and I and Laurie trying to figure out the hours and the allocation for each job in a general sense. Because if welfare ends up, the demand for welfare ends up going up, we're not going to just say, oh, you've run out of hours. But consequently, we should come up with an average so that we can budget for an average. So essentially what we've done, Bob, is we've taken that one person's salary and just divvied it up. So it's just, instead of being split into 3 pieces, it's being split into 5. So I know that's kind of a lot of detail I just gave you, but I just wanted you to understand the complexity of what we're trying to do.
So if Well, if you're trying to allocate it in 5 positions, wouldn't it go down? Because now you're spreading her salary amongst 5 different positions, correct?
Well, I increased her salary because of her additional responsibilities while I was decreasing that other spot that was eliminated as a full-time position. So she got a raise, so
Okay.
it's not going to be divided by the same amount of a salary.
I got it. Thank you.
Did you have a question?
No, he answered it. She got a raise.
Yeah, hey, Mark, just in that vein, are we taking and, we see her salary here, is her salary showing up in those other 5 places also? So that every budget is sort of accurate to what's being spent on that?
It's the other 4 places, so it's this one and
Other
4
4
others.
places, I'm sorry.
Right. Yes, that's our intent, because I'm not trying to say that Laurie's going to leave, in the near future, but as you know, every employee can leave on their own terms when they decide to leave. But I can tell you, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, if anybody thinks that I can find one person to take over 5 jobs, that's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, and I don't think we're questioning that, Mark. I think it's just a question of, is each department being allocated per time?
Right, but the reason why we're trying to allocate it is so that if there's a time that comes to try to replace that person, we have an idea what we need to replace.
Right.
It could be a part-time person, for instance, for welfare.
Yep.
Because it doesn't rise to the level of a full-time person. So that's why we're trying to do this. Plus, this is something that I always like to do to show an allocation for the budget purposes so that you can see what people are doing and what it's costing for that department.
Right.
Yeah, Julian?
And I'd like to, there's some kudos or thanks for Lori, because if this was another town, this could be 3, maybe just 3 or 4 actual positions, all with benefits and everything in another town. And this just shows how valuable Lori is and how versatile in her skills, that she can take on all this work, and she works very hard. I've seen her day to day when I could come to town hall more often, which isn't happening in the last few months. But she's a very hard worker. She's very versatile. She's knowledgeable in so many things. And this town owes her a gratitude for the good job that she has been doing throughout the years.
Okay, are we ready to
Well
vote?
said, Julian. I mean, you don't find that somebody with all those skill sets in so many different diverse areas. I mean, it's a credit to her, and town is lucky to have her.
And she earns every cent she makes.
Are we ready to vote on the budget? Yeah. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Maxine Dobson,
Yes.
Sam Capuso,
Yes?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yes.
Robert Zukas.
Yes.
Darrell Britton,
Yes.
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Julian Kiska.
Yes.
Okay. The next budget to review is patriotic purposes. It went up from 500 to 600. Is there a motion on the floor to take the patriotic purposes budget of $600 under consideration?
I'll make that motion.
Sam, second? I'll second it.
39.
Discussion on that?
I'll second it.
Oh, I already did.
Oh, sorry.
What, I was just curious what the extra 100 was added by the BOS. Julian?
Look at it.
It's only $100. I was just curious.
I can't recall the exact thing, because it's a few months ago now.
Yeah, okay.
But
It's only
unless the town
$100.
manager remembers why we did that, I don't recall off the top of my head.
I do not remember.
It's
Okay.
been level, it's been that amount, and sometimes it's exceeded the 500 that it was. So 100 is a good number.
I was just curious. Inquiring minds want to know.
I thought it was, if I heard correctly, I thought it was for replacement of some of the flags and other things that we do put out that have needed to be updated.
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
some-
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I know some of them were getting
Replacing
tattered,
it,
and
yeah.
so could very well be, that's where we're looking to,
We've done that throughout the years. That's
Right.
what the budget's for.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, years ago, we had a bunch of tattered flags, and they all did get replaced, and
Yep.
out here front, the flag kept hitting the tree branches, so it kept tearing up the end, so we had that corrected too, so.
Are we ready to take a vote on that budget? It's relatively small. We can do it- Yeah.
Hang on a
Oh, wait.
second. Was there, I might have missed it, there was a question about the Old Home Day.
That's the cultural one. They're like two separate budgets. Patriotic is for 600 and then Old Home Day is 22.
Okay, the one I have, it's on the same.
It's, yeah. We're gonna do the cultural one for Old Home Day next.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready. Yep,
Maxine Dobson,
yes.
Sam Kafiso.
Yes?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yeah.
Robert Zukas,
Yes,
Darrell Britton,
Yes.
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Julian.
Yes.
Good.
Okay, so the next one is cultural, which is that Old Home Day of 22,500. Do you want to make a motion and then we can discuss it?
Make a motion.
Okay, a motion to take the cultural budget of $22,500 under consideration. Darrell made the motion, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Julian, second. Discussion, Bob?
Are we going to have Old Home Day?
It's probably
This
too
coming
early
year?
to tell.
There is
Alright.
no way to know,
Yeah.
Okay.
but we should budget in case,
Okay.
and the money that would have been spent this year just goes back into the general fund. So
This-
it was a savings this year.
This is a two-part question. My second part is, we're taking surplus funds from this year's budget, the 2020 budget, to do things such as buy a generator that's going to cost between $50,000 and $60,000 for the highway garage. Now, if that wasn't appropriated for in our budget, I don't understand how we can be using surplus funds
If it's
that
allocated.
wasn't
Where
appropriated.
has this got to
And-
do with cultural and patriotic?
Yeah, that's a
Well-
different subject, but.
Right, it is a different subject, but it ties into this because if we didn't spend the money this year for a specific purpose, such as Old Home Day, why aren't we just encumbering that and using that money so we can reduce the budget this next year?
There's no contract for it.
Because there's no contract.
There's no contracts for any of the services that we pay for during Old Home Day. They're null and void for this year.
So my question
There's nothing
was,
to encumber.
Okay.
You just have to rebudget it for the possibility of doing it next year.
my question for that was, wasn't a revolving fund created on the warrant article for Old Home Day last year?
Right, which nothing's done with that.
I understand that, but couldn't we hypothetically put this money in there to use it for next year?
I don't believe that would be legal.
No.
You can't just take the budgeted money, stick it in another account and use it, because then you could do it for almost anything.
No, it's specifically for Old Home Day.
No, because this was budgeted to be spent. It's not being spent. You could ask the finance
Yeah,
director. I
Greg,
know he's
did
got
you-
his hand up.
I think that's a whole nother discussion
Yeah,
before this meeting's over.
Okay.
yeah. The finance director's got his
Yeah,
hands
could you
raised.
explain how that works, Greg?
In order to put money into a expendable trust fund or a cap reserve fund, that has to be by warrant article. You cannot just take money from the budget and move it into those funds.
Okay. Any other discussion on this?
No.
No? Okay. Roll call vote to approve it or take it under consideration?
Sorry. Maxine Dobson.
Yes.
Sam Kafiso.
Yes?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yes.
Robert Zukas,
yes.
Darrell Britton,
Yes.
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is for the conservation Commission. That budget, it looks like, is for $6,480. Is there a motion on the floor to take that under consideration?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second?
Sam seconded. Discussion? Yeah, Dennis.
Board of Selectmen reduction of 3,750. What was that for?
3,000.
Right, I'm looking at it, right?
Item, I'm looking at it.
Water testing?
It was, one was off the, didn't require it for the water testing. They went from 6,000 to 3,000.
Okay.
And I believe that explanation was given by the town manager at the time, what the reasoning was, without reading all the stuff on the right.
It just says COVID reduced the expenses and canceled activities.
And,
Okay. That makes sense.
and it also says some things were, on the 750 part, which is general supplies, it says expenses for Arbor Day and town forest are taken from this line item. And COVID-19 significantly reduced the expenses in 2020 due to the canceled activities. So,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you for the notes that are on the side.
Yeah, I know. It would be good if we all read them, huh?
I'm just as guilty of not reading every one of them, too.
Are we ready to take a roll
A
call
lot
vote
of
on
them.
that?
Yes.
Yeah, we're ready.
Ready?
Yep,
Okay, Maxine Dodson,
yes.
Sam Cafiso,
Yes?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yes.
Robert Zukas,
Yes.
Darrell Britton,
Yes.
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Julian Kiska.
Yes.
All right.
Motion carries 800. All right, the next one is debt service, and that is down from last year to 516,951. Is there a motion to take that under consideration?
Motion made.
Okay. Second?
A second?
Okay. Discussion?
I think this is pretty much motherhood and apple pie.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. I think we're ready to vote on that one also.
Yeah, it's called pay your bills.
That?
Yep.
Okay. Maxine Dodson.
Yes.
Sam Cafiso,
Yes?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yep.
is that a yes?
Yes, he said yep.
Yep, sorry.
Robert Zukas,
Yes.
Darrell Britton,
Yes.
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Julian Kiska.
Yes.
I'll be doing this in my sleep tonight.
Yes.
This is one of those, and our 20 years is up, then it'll go down.
Yeah.
But it's a long time.
So we have the new fire department budget in our folder that includes the warrant article for 24-hour staffing that was taken out. So we can go back and look at that. So the new total, instead of 918,285, it's now 784,285.
I make a motion, we take this under consideration.
Okay. I'll second it. Discussion on the new number? I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready to vote?
Okay, Maxine Dodson,
Yes.
Sam Cafiso,
Yes?
Dennis Heffernan,
Yes.
Robert Zukas,
Yes.
Darrell Britton,
Yes.
Peter Bracci,
Yes.
Bob Hamilton,
Yes.
Julian Kiska.
Yes.
Thank you. Julian, do you have any idea of when we'll be able to see the monetary warrant articles?
We should have them finalized by the end of this month. Because we're looking for the numbers for the end of the year balances in the accounts, which are part of the warrant articles, which we don't have yet. And that's pretty much, we're waiting probably on the finance director, because those are really the final numbers we need, so we can finalize the full warrant article, and then they'll be given to you.
So,
Is that correct, Greg?
That is correct, that you are waiting on end-of-year numbers.
so will we get it before the public hearing on the 12th so we can vote on them before the public hearing?
I would imagine so.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll ask, I'm sure we'll push it, as soon as we have those numbers, we'll push it at least by email right away to all the board members
Okay.
here, so that you can vote on it. We've already voted on them pretty much, just the final numbers aren't in.
Okay. So the only other, well, I have new business. There were a few more questions that were submitted, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but the question was asked, have laptops been purchased for remote meetings? If so, will they be available to budget committee members that do not have home computers that have that capability? So that was my concern originally going into remote. There are people who don't have state-of-the-art.
Yep.
Some people still have flip phones, so I think that's why that question was asked.
Yeah, I was in support of having some older town laptops, which are quite capable of doing, because there's not a lot of power required to run these remote meetings.
Yeah, you need
It's just the
Wi-Fi.
screen and whatever, because all the processing is done on the servers, not on your computer. I've attended many meetings by phone, by the way. I sat in my car in Milford with a 3+ hour Rockingham Planning Commission meeting with my phone on my dash, sitting there in front of their town green, because it was the first place I had cell reception, because I was coming back from somewhere, and I had a meeting there with the phone. It worked fabulously. I mean, if you have a flip phone, it ain't going to work, obviously.
Right.
But I'm in support of a few laptops being available to people that don't have them if they really need to do a remote meeting.
I know the school just purchased a
Laptops
ton-
are cheap now.
Well, the school just purchased a ton of Chromebooks for all the kids who are doing remote learning, and I think they were like $250.
You know, I had a talk with the chairman, I don't know how many weeks ago, that when it was brought up that some members, let's say, still have flip phones or whatever, it says, okay, well, I don't see why we can't have the town spare a few to borrow laptops just to hold a meeting or something. Maybe not on a permanent basis, but just during the times that they need to, because maybe they don't have a computer that's capable, and that's possible. But you don't have to have a powerful computer to do it.
Right.
And you can do it over phone, too.
That's what I did. I said, we've been running meetings remote with the RPC since March, and everyone is smooth as butter. Matter of fact, they're even better, because you can sit there. The only problem is if there's paperwork, like a spreadsheet like you're dealing with today, Dennis, it's hard to see the notes on the side of a spreadsheet on your computer because you don't have the paper copy with you, or the newest paper
I
copy.
actually have it. I went and picked
Yeah,
everything up.
but you may not have the
I
newest one, so it's
Right.
tough. If
No,
you
I
don't-
do. I got it today.
I know at home, I have a second screen, so I can always put it on the second screen, but everyone can't do that. So it's,
My thing is, what I'm saying is, so, you know, everybody's had to adjust during this period. And there are things out there. There's an app called Conference Now.
Yeah.
It's a free app. People have the number, you can call in and you can do it over the phone. So, you know, Zoom, there's a call, even this, you know, you can always make that phone call. It doesn't have to be visual.
it doesn't have to be, you can do it by phone as well. It's also
Yeah.
in the memo from the Attorney General. Long
Yeah.
as, only requirement is that contemporaneously, everybody that might be attending or watching a meeting can hear all sides. So that it's transparent. And that's the minimum requirement. If you can meet that minimum requirement, if you read it, that's all you really have to do. The visual's kind of nice, because you can see the visuals and presentations, but if you can hear, and you can hear in both directions, you'll be able to speak and to hear anything anyone else says, then you have fulfilled the law.
Well, I know there is dead spots for cell phone reception on 121A
Yep.
in Plaistow, so,
That's why I was in Milford that day, because I was hiking, so there was no reception where I was hiking. And so I stopped into Milford, got my first reception, parked at their little town green in their parking lot there, and I sat there and did the meeting. And it worked great.
and then the
I
next,
will say, being on the other end, I mean, I think this system the town has, it's good. I can hear everybody clear. I think you guys can hear me. I think this is a really good system that the town does have.
Yeah, there's a big fear to do it, but once you've done it, it's not that bad. But the first time there's obviously natural fear that it isn't going to work right. But once you've done it, you find out it's not that bad.
so then the next question that follows into that, you know, with the ability to have digital meetings, how does that factor into deliberative session is it possible to have the budget committee members attend remotely? And I guess that's still in the works. Everything's still being explored. Do you know
I
any?
think that's going to be a lot up to the moderator. I think those discussions are also going on with the school board possibly too, because they have large deliberation meetings compared to ours. So that's going to be, I don't know what that's, how that's going to go, but I think those things are in discussion everywhere.
Does anyone have any other new
Well,
business?
I have a
Oh,
question,
yeah.
a couple. Is that for the members that can't attend the deliberative session? Is that what you're looking for remote?
Just, yeah, in any
Okay.
case, if it's going to be available.
I know our deliberative session will be held, not here, it will be held at, it's planned to be held at the town Public Works facility because it's a large room and you can space people out. And we're already setting up the facilities for the screens and everything, so they'll be working by then.
Okay. Did you have another question, or was
I
that?
do.
Yeah.
This is under new and old business, correct?
yes.
Okay. And I guess this is to the town manager. Mark, what is the feasibility or the availability to get a pass card to the town hall for the committee chair so that we're not standing outside at 10 minutes before the meeting or 5 minutes before the meeting to get in?
I will jump in and say I don't want that
Okay,
responsibility.
well, there should be some way to get into the town hall before a meeting, well before, 5 minutes before a meeting.
Yeah, there was a problem today. Even the person who does the temperature checks from the fire department couldn't get in, and when I arrived, I had to unlock the door. So I don't know what the solution to that is, that's practical, except someone get here early
Yeah.
that has a key. I'd got here earlier if I'd known people were waiting.
I usually call Dean, and he lets us in. So,
Well, I think that's something you can take back to Mark and ask him if.
He's online.
yeah.
I just
All right,
asked him.
that's right. Mark, is there any chance that committee chairman can have a key or something to get in?
I don't want the key. I don't.
Well, even if you don't have it, even if your vice chairman has it, okay?
Yeah. I could ask Dean when he comes in to do the television to leave the door unlocked for us.
Why don't we just make a procedure to have the building open 5 minutes before the meeting?
Yeah, typically, the firefighter who's doing the screening is here before first.
It takes them a while to do it.
I would think they would be able to get in.
Not
They have to have the chief
No,
come
I know
down and
they-
open it. That's what
No,
that's
they-
what
Yeah, I
happened.
know, they usually don't. I think if anyone, he should be the one that person should be the one with the fob,
Okay,
my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think I'd be asking for a solution from the town manager because he has control of the security of the building, so I can't make
Okay.
that decision.
so is Mark on?
Mark, do you have a comment to that?
So Mark, is it possible to get a fob or something for, an extra one for the police department, fire department, so that they
we
can
do this?
open the door before the meetings to do the temperature check?
Okay, can I speak now?
Sure.
Okay. So, we've never thrown a roadblock into any committee to get into the building. What we usually do is give a fob to the chairman of each of the respective committees. So, in this case, if Maxine declined to have a fob, then I think what didn't happen is that somebody else on the committee didn't, like the vice chairman or somebody else just didn't assume that fob. We have never stood in the way of giving fobs to the people on the respective people in charge of each committee or group. So there's a lot of moving parts. I can't answer why certain people aren't here at certain times. I can, for instance, I could have the fire department get here at 6:15 or 6 o'clock and make sure that they have a fob to get into the building so that this wouldn't happen again. But it hasn't been a deliberate oversight to give access to people to the building. It's just that we haven't given out fobs to every member of every committee. So I will look into that If, I had no idea that anybody was waiting outside. This is the first complaint I've ever heard in my 4 years here about somebody not getting into the building, on a committee. So I will check with the fire department and see what they can do.
Yeah, I was going to comment, Mark, don't take it as a complaint. I can attest that you've offered me a fob in the past and Max a fob in the past, and neither of us want the liability of having that. We're just asking if possibly you could make sure that the fire department has one to get in, because it's been not a complaint. It's just when the weather is nice, no one really minds, but now that it's 20 degrees out, no one wants to wait outside, and we just like to be able to maybe have the fire department or whoever the screener is of the night to be the first to arrive. 6:15 is probably fine, and have a fob to be able to get in the building.
That's all, yeah.
Well,
'cause-
if Bob Zukas wants the fob, I'll give him the fob for the budget committee, and we'll put the pressure on him to make sure he's here early.
Well, I am here early in my shorts every time too, Mark, to boot, but no, this will be the second week,
And you're
that's all.
allowed to be here early.
But it still doesn't solve the problem when we don't have the screener here in the future, let's say next June.
Right.
You still have the problem.
Yeah, well, we could, but I mean, if the fire department is here to screen and they open the door, that's fine. But unfortunately, what happened was he had to call the chief, and the chief was coming down to open up, and that's all. So I just didn't know who has them or why it is that even the screener couldn't come in.
Yeah, the screener was sitting out there waiting
Yeah,
too,
this
so
is-
if the screener had a key, there would have been a problem.
And this
Right,
happened
that's-
last week too. That's all. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out why we're not able to get in, that's all.
I agree that the fire department is the key to this during this COVID situation, because they have to be here anyhow in order to screen us before we enter the building. So it only makes sense that it is the fire department that
That's
has
all.
the fob.
And I will say they're paid employees, so I feel more comfortable with them
Absolutely.
having an FOB.
And we know the screener has to be here, so
Right. That's
that would be the most ideal thing, because without the screener, we can't enter the building anyway.
That's
Right.
right, makes no,
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I got right in and I was warm the whole time.
that's right.
Dennis, I'd like you to put a mask on just to make us comfortable.
You don't have a beer in front of you, do you, Dennis?
I hope not.
I hope not.
Are there any other things?
He's got a
Yeah,
Crown
Pete,
Royal.
go ahead.
For Mark and Greg, last week we had a pretty heated discussion on legal, that why was it going up so much? And I took a look at I didn't see the most recent actuals, but I got one for November 30th, and I see Donahue, Tucker, and Ciandel. They're quite a bit, and it looks like that is the big ticket on the legal budget. Now, why do we have Donahue, Tucker, and Ciandel on so much?
It's based on demand on any particular legal issue that we've asked them to look at.
What do we have them for? I thought we had Sumner Coleman. So why are we at DTC so much?
Well, to clarify what you just said, Summer Kalman has been legal counsel for the town of Plaistow for a long time. I wouldn't even want to guess at how long. But he's not a general practitioner. There's things that he does and there's things that he doesn't do. So
And
we
what does
have-
DTC do that's different from what Sumner does? Why are we hiring this firm so often?
Because they specialize in areas that town council, Sumner Kalman, doesn't specialize in.
Like what kind of things?
Negotiating franchise agreements for cable TV. We have legal counsel from
I thought
DTC.
Sumner always did it when I was on the board, that he negotiated the cable TV contract.
I thought that I was answering a question, but you want to, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm all set. I'm all done.
Wow.
No, so what kind of contracts does DTC, why do we hire them so often?
To perform legal work.
What kind of legal work, I'm asking, Mark?
I was explaining to you, Mr. Bracci, and you kept on interrupting me.
Well, I'm not interrupting you now. Could you just answer the question?
If I can answer it without being interrupted, I'd be glad to.
You get the floor.
So as I started to say, DTC specializes in franchise agreements for cable TV contracts. They are legal counsel to our water agreements that we most recently had to hire a specialized attorney that dealt with municipal water agreements. And we have legal counsel from DTC that specializes in employment law matters. And previous to DTC on employment law matters, we had another attorney, and I won't mention the firm or the name, but it was from Concord. And the charges that we were getting charged was portal to portal. So we would get a bill, for instance, from that firm that performed some training for elected officials, and they would bring 2 attorneys down, and I would get a bill for $1,000 for them to drive from Concord down and drive back to Concord. So when I was looking at what we could get for a rate that would be better and give us more comprehensive coverage for a better price, I found that DTC had people in multiple areas that we could access if we had a unique situation. And just to understand why we went to DTC and not Sumner Kalman was the fact that there's things that Sumner Kalman does and there's things that he doesn't do. And then on the same topic of the legal, we have another attorney, Charles Cleary, that handles the planning board matters because he specializes in that type of law. Law has become specialized, and you have to seek counsel on people that specialize in that area. Another reason that you can't always go with one lawyer and one lawyer only, there may be a conflict of interest. So lawyers are required by the New Hampshire Bar and their rules to recuse themselves if there's a conflict. So there's no one size fits all for legal. So that is the reason why we went with DTC.
Well, one of the reasons that I bring it up was you mentioned that we had a lot of right-to-know requests, and it doesn't seem like the right-to-know requests are very prominent in the report that I have.
I'm not familiar what report you have.
It's the detailed statement of accounts and expenditures, 11/30/2020, that we get from the Finance Department. It goes from January to, this is, 11/29.
Okay.
The reason I'm bringing it up, Mark, is that the legal budget line item has jumped quite a bit, and it was purported that it was because of right-to-know requests, where I'm looking at here and it doesn't appear that way. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so I think I know where you're going, so I do have an answer. So between August 25th, 2020 and the present, there's been over 65 RSA 91 requests to the town of Plaistow. As the requests started to come in with greater frequency, the requests started to overwhelm the town's administrative assistant and interfered with her other duties. Those requests have included, but are not limited to, requests for information about public works projects, vendor contracts, personnel evaluations, confidential personnel documents, records about private organizations and citizens, litigation files, and attorney-client privileged information reflected in legal invoices. Determining what is and is not subject to disclosure under RSA 91A requires extensive knowledge of various statutes and various Supreme Court and Superior Court decisions regarding RSA 91A, which is always changing, Just this summer, 2 cases altered the application of RSA 91A pertaining to personnel records. And within the last 2 weeks, there's been 2 court decisions out of Merrimack and Grafton County, I believe, that also have made changes to RSA 91A requests. Given the large volume of requests and the level of coordination required to manage those requests, and the different standards for disclosure, the town thought it would be prudent to have an attorney knowledgeable in RSA 91A requests to assist us with these extensive requests.
So you're saying that because of the additional right-to-know requests, we added, what was it, $16,000 to the budget?
Yes, sir. So my rationale when I brought this to the Board of Selectmen was I had a baseline to look at what we were starting to average with the legal costs related to what I just mentioned over the period of September, October, and November. And it was increasing gradually each month. So I took an average and then extended it out for 12 months to come up with what I thought would be a likely average if this level of information requests continued throughout 2021. As you know, we're trying to predict an operating budget of expenses for the next year. What I can tell you is that over 60 requests from one individual in 3-month period is more than collectively the amount of requests that 10 or 12 or 15 towns or cities get collectively for a whole year. So we are seeing a surge of 91A requests that are not simple, can I have a copy of this? They're more complicated than that. They require extensive legal research to determine we're complying with the 91A law and we're not violating somebody's privacy interest. We're not violating a part of the exemptions of 91A.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if we table this until next week? Because I
Sure.
did send a packet out to everybody via email today, and I think we need to process all that information that's in there. Is that all right with everybody?
Yes.
We haven't done the water budget yet, and I just had a general question before we do that. I'll put it on next week's agenda. But I was under the impression that the water budget basically funds itself based on users, and I believe it was called an enterprise fund. I don't know if I'm getting that right, but what happens if the water budget is overspent? Where does that money come from?
Greg, I'm going to defer to Greg. I do have an answer, but I think he can explain it maybe a little clearer than I could.
If you're referring to the November budget summary that shows the water budget being overspent, that would come out of the existing fund balance.
Of the
But
water?
yes, it is a self-supporting fund that is all expenses are paid by water revenue or water surplus that has accumulated from year to year. So that over expenditure that you saw through November will be paid for by prior year excess revenue that has been recorded in the water fund.
So is there a way to anticipate what that excess revenue is? Is it like a backlog? We have excess revenue and we can just apply it to future years?
Well, it's part of where the general fund has an unassigned fund balance. The water department has an unassigned or a designated for water purpose fund balance.
Okay.
And at the end of 2019, it was $400,000 or $500,000, I believe.
So there is money in the unassigned fund water balance?
For the water fund, yes. They have their equivalent of the general fund unassigned fund balance, but in the water fund as well.
Okay. That answers that question. Thank you. Anyone else?
Welcome.
I think next week on the agenda, I'd also like to put on the unexpended funds for this year to discuss that.
Based on the new thing I just sent out
Yes.
earlier today, that November.
Yes.
Okay, yep,
Yeah.
I can do that. Bob?
I think it's the same question. We're going to talk about surplus budget funds in this year's budget. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. That'll be next week.
Right.
Any other new business to add? Okay, so for next week, we'll do the water budget, and then I'll have an actual hard copy of the November expenditure report put in our folder too, but I did email that to everybody ahead of time. And,
Max?
Yes.
One of the things I would probably want to ask too is, I know we're getting close to Christmas. Is there anybody here that feels as though they won't be able to make it, where we wouldn't end up having a quorum?
I did put December 22nd as our next meeting. Does everybody have a issue? Do they think they'll be able to come, or do they think they won't be able to come?
I'll be here.
Okay, I'll be here. Yeah, no, I think I'll have a
Good.
quorum. Okay. All right, so I will adjourn the meeting at 8:09. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.